Sagittarius Collective, hello. This is my third attempt because I've been undergoing a sneeze attack every time I've had to blow my nose, and so I may pause and do that. Like I was just attempting to tell you, I'm purging everything and I'm preparing to move, so I sold my bed. I'm back to floor sleeping on a Japanese futon. It's a tatami mat, which I did for a while before, and I really enjoyed it, but it really aggravates my seasonal allergies because you're on the ground, so all the dust collects. I also keep 4 dogs, so at the time when I did it before, I was keeping 5 dogs, so there was just a lot, it was difficult. But if that's not your situation, or you don't struggle with that, maybe floor sleeping is something you might want to look into. It's very grounding. It can intensify your dreams. So maybe if you're feeling out of touch with your third eye, or if you're feeling sort of like, that's a technical term. Then if you are feeling that way, maybe something about floor sleeping is, or just grounding your energy. Maybe just spending some time on the floor, meditating, just doing some savasana, which is just laying on your back. Just lay on your back. Rest, maybe resting. Also maybe taking tinctures, because I'm needing to take my stinging nettle tincture, which helps with my allergies and asthma. And then maybe something with December 8th. When I said it before, when I tried to get it out in the last one, I said September 8th. And then the sneezes came. So maybe you're dealing with a Virgo. Maybe September 8th is an important date for you. 9/8. You might have been single for a while with the 9. That's an independent energy. And then 8 is still an independent energy. It's working on yourself. And at the center here, we have the 8 of Pentacles. So maybe something about you may be feeling like you have to kind of take a step back from a situation, or a project, or a process, or a relationship, anything. Situationship. Could be dealing with the Pisces. Okay. Oh, okay. I'll take you. And it may feel like because you have to take a step back, or because you have to kind of maybe go back to the basics, you could feel like you're starting at square one. You could feel like, maybe you were single for a while, you started dating, and then you met somebody who was very, very closely resembled a past connection, or a parental figure, something with a step parent. The Ace of Cups tried to pop out. I'm going to put it back because it did flip back over. So yeah, you could be having a hard time just giving yourself grace and resting and getting into your feminine energy. You are a mutable sign, so you have water and swords in your mutable energy. So you could be more in your fire and your swords aspect, getting too much air, too much thought, too much, if there's a decision or confusion or anything like that, which is also the moon energy, right? So water is moon energy, so you may have a hard time tapping into your emotions because your mind is blocking you with the swords energy. So that Ace of Swords, Ace of Swords is a decision, which we have the Two of Swords here that I'm trying to pull a clarifier for. So there's a need to make a decision. There's a need to choose one path, and you may be having to choose yourself. And that could be 4 of Cups. Okay, yeah, you may have to choose between 2 or more lovers, 2 or more paths, 2 or more projects, right? And that takes mutable energy, that takes discernment, but it takes the discernment when you're talking about cups, it's feminine energy. So that means the Hanged Man, Piscean energy, third eye, right? Maybe doing a dream journal or something where you're tapping into your High Priestess energy, and you need to come into the Hanged Man energy, which means you're gonna have to come out of that masculine energy, that masculine active energy of swords and fire, and come into a place of, you know, choosing based on your feelings. And this is someone who looks like they're kind of, I don't know what to choose. I got all these cups, I got all these options. I don't know what I feel, right? This person's kind of like, I don't know what I feel, right? So this is balancing the head and the heart to make a decision towards wish fulfillment. We have the Justice here, but again, there's kind of Two of Swords again, but these two swords are not crossed. See how hers are crossed over the chest, blocking her heart chakra. She's also blinded in this. She's got a blindfold on. She's not seeing through any of her eyeballs, her two or her third. And this individual is, see how they've got the two faces there. They've got the duality. There's more of a clarity between choices. Again, with the two dead fish, like prehistoric fish, kind of Piscean energy as well. Is that just blurry to me? I don't know. Anyway, but this person has the key. The key is to making this decision. You have everything that you need to make this decision. I don't want to say unfortunately, but it kind of feels like, unfortunately, it's all within you, which may not feel that. When you're in very masculine energy, male or female, when you're in very masculine energy, you're looking to the external, because masculine energy is the 3D. It's what we see here. It's what our five senses know, right? But when you're on the divine path and you're trying to tap into your divine union, your divination practices, right? That's what it takes to make decisions on a divine path. So however you divine information, whether it's from movies, music, reading, if it's from nature, if it's from maybe people watching, right? Maybe numerology, right? So maybe you have a very analytical way of deciphering spiritual messages. And so if you are in that masculine energy, then you are reliant on the 3D, on the external versus the internal, to make those decisions for you. And so you might just be like trying to reach out to the universe, like, can you send me a sign? Which reminds me of a meme I saw that was just completely apropos, because it's like, you know, me receiving a sign from the universe, and then the individual's like, can you send me a signy or sign? You know, like, it's like you want something to be very clear and concise, because you're very much in this masculine energy. You're very much in your head versus your feelings. Your feelings are very cut and dry, right? They don't feel like that right now to whomever I'm speaking with, but if you feel something, it's faith-based. You're all in or you're all out. You're taking that leap of faith. You could be dealing with an Aries. We also have the star here, which is Aquarius. So it's like you're going to have to rely on wish fulfillment. You're going to have to rely on your inner star, the feminine aspect, right? The star is feminine, but it is an air sign. So it's like if you're in your head, you can still, just like all the elements, like the magician does, you can loophole into other sister elements or brother elements, or masculine or feminine elements, right? So if it's like, if you are in swords energy, you can move into a fixed swords, right? Fixed air sign, which is Aquarius. Fixed is that earth. So it's like if you're having a hard time getting into your cups, right? Earth is feminine, but it's also about the 3D, the physical, the tangible, right? And so it could be about getting into Like if you're having a hard time tapping into your dreams, which is very water energy, and you're like dealing with insomnia, dealing with restless nights, feeling like you're not getting enough done in a day, you need to be more productive, you're not getting enough information, or you know you're having trouble taking that step back. That step back is not like you're going in reverse and you're not going back to old connections. Note that. The divine is always moving forward. The divine path is always moving forward, but when you take a step back, it's actually taking a step inward, right? And even though it's like we think of things as forward, backwards, this way, that way, when you're talking about time and energy, the way that it moves in a divine way and in the universal way, it's spherical. It's moving out and moving in. Ascension is descension, right? Light is dark. So there's a duality and a polarity. Your polar sign is Gemini. So, you know, that could be the swords energy that you're getting into there. So you can always transfer into that. And Geminis are good at managing the thoughts. They're good at analyzing and making these decisions here, right? So we've got Justice is Libra, right? So if you're in your swords, you can also move over into Libra, right? Libra is cardinal. It's cardinal, which is fire, swords. So that would be an easier transfer for you because you are in your swords and your fires. You can move over into fire supplementing swords versus swords supplementing fire, which is going to burn it down, right? So this way you're kind of warming up the thoughts. So this is like doing breath work, really meditating and kind of doing some like Wim Hof breathing maybe to kind of warm your thoughts up, but bring it to a physical place, bring it to a tangible place. Because if you have air just feeding a passion that you don't really understand or you can't discern, like, what does this passion mean? What am I passionate about? What's my, you know, what do I feel? Passion is the feeling aspect of fire. There's a masculine and feminine aspect and duality and polarity in all elements, in all things, animate and inanimate, right? It's just the creation, the destruction and creation, the cycle of all things are masculine and feminine. So that might be very confusing what I'm saying here, but it's like this is like a puzzle, right? It's like you're moving pieces around to figure out what the whole picture is. If you can't see the whole picture, you don't have the box to go off of, and maybe you've been looking for the box around your house to find out what is this picture that I'm actually making here. This is more like getting into just trusting the process, just doing one piece at a time, and then the picture will reveal itself, right? You already bought the puzzle. You already made the choice to incarnate into this life cycle, and so this is what you chose. You've already seen the puzzle. You've already seen the whole picture and said, that's the one I want. You bought it, you took it home, you lost the box, and that's what being in the 3D, right? You manifested it in the 5D, you called it in, you chose it in the 5D, but now in the 3D, you're like, it's like waking up from a dream. You can't really remember the pictures of the dreams or what exactly it was. You just kind of have a feeling, but the feeling is sort of indecipherable, so you're like, I don't remember. And when you are dream journaling, especially when you're just starting out, a good way to kind of tap into that is not trying to, because when you try to reach for a dream, it's like trying to remember a blackout night of drinking. You're just, the more you reach for it, the more you're going to forget it, or try to fill in the blanks with stuff that doesn't fit based on an indecipherable feeling. This is I feel very specific and very metaphysical, esoteric type thing. Maybe check your Pluto sign. You could have Scorpio in your chart. But you could be a cusper as well. I was talking with Scorpio about cuspers. November 22nd, I just watched Halloween because I'm getting a lot of signs for that. obviously it's the time of year. So, I mean, it's not like a big mystery as to why, but with Jamie Lee Curtis in particular, and her birthday is November 22nd. Also, Mark Ruffalo and Scarlett Johansson, they're all birthday twins. So, yeah, you're on this twin flame journey, and what happens with the masculine is the masculine sees the feminine that has seen them in the 5D. So the feminine usually sees the twin flame journey first in the 5D. They see it in their third eye, they see it in their dreams, they feel it, right? Like The Weeknd, I feel it coming, I feel it coming. That's really all the lyrics I can think of right now, but I feel it coming, where it's like they know it, they feel it, and then the masculine identifies them in the 3D, because the feminine creative 5D frequency is so powerful, it draws the 3D masculine to it, and then the masculine isolates it. So if you're the feminine, you might not be seeing your masculine counterpart. If you're the masculine, you might not be feeling your feminine counterpart, right? So you guys need to kind of both balance out. You're on this seesaw of being 2 in the feminine, 2 in the masculine, right? And so there's that fixed energy at the center of a seesaw that is that earth energy. So grounding yourselves, nurturing yourselves in a very physical way. So comforting the 5 senses, getting yourself into a place where you're understanding what your 5 senses are doing. If your mind is a mess, your space could be cluttered, right? You could be dealing with allergies, which allergies will mess up this area, right? They'll kind of inhibit your ability to see clearly in the third eye, or sometimes in the blurry vision here. So it's like there could be, which is a result of too much going on in the physical environment, right? So it's decluttering, it's eliminating, it's cleaning your air filters, your water filters, right? Get this very tangible, practical approach to making room for your feminine energy to get back on that frequency. So you could have been on that frequency and you felt very close to your person, and then a karmic got in the way, right? And a karmic came in the way, looked very much like a twin flame, because that's what karmics do. They're notorious for that. And then they knocked you back off your path a little bit. So you're kind of like, maybe I don't know what signs are signs, and maybe I don't know what the fuck I think, and maybe I don't know my intuition, maybe I don't know myself, maybe I don't know anything, you know, and you could have gotten to like a spiral like that. So you can utilize, just like the magician, that's the emperor and the empress, the divine union, the divine couple. They are both magicians. They are divine alchemists. So you can come into a place where you are accessing your sword's energy, get into a feminine energy, right? So even though Libra is a masculine sign, it's also associated with Venus. It's ruled by Venus, and it's associated with, so if you tap into your Libra energy, which will be easier for you, then you can tap into your Venus energy, which will tap you into also the Hierophant, which is Taurus, right? You could be dealing with any of these signs. Maybe you know a Taurus, maybe you can just look into Tauruses. Maybe you have Taurus in your chart, maybe Taurus is in your Pluto, right? Maybe it's in your Jupiter, which is your ruling planet, you know, so it's like, maybe doing a little bit of research, which is very much Gemini, right? Doing a little bit of research. Also, you know, it's very Virgo and Hangman. It's that, which is, these are all your mutable companions. So if you are a mutable sign, you can get into mutable energy of your other companions and get into that analytical place. Like, use the strengths that are at your disposal, right? All these tools are available to you to manifest. All right, so you can be a divine magician and a divine alchemist. So yeah, you might need to kind of loophole and do a little bit of research on yourself, not your person. Don't Page of Swords them. It doesn't matter what they've got going on. What matters is what you have going on, and then you shift and I wanted to say manage, which might just be a better term for what you're doing here, because manifestation, law of attraction, all the esoteric stuff might be a little bit feel a little bit intangible. So you might need to bring it into a place where you think of it like a business, where you think of it in a masculine way that makes room, because masculine leads. So it's like you're maybe, if you're in your masculine energy, lead the way, clear the way, do the active, destructive process of masculine energy so that the feminine has room to expand and has room to explore and work her magic, right? Because we all have the same ingredients, different recipes. So we have masculine and feminine within us. So this is about the two individuals on that seesaw balancing their masculine and feminine. And you are twin flames, so you're going to be, all divine unions are twin flames, but not all twin flames reach divine union, because not all twin flames do this work to reach this point of divine alchemy. They are just kind of like, oh, I like them, there's a lot of chemistry and we're close enough. And you know, shadow work is not for the faint of heart. So yeah, you can have a twin flame connection, but if you don't bring it into the 3D, then it never becomes a divine union. It's because it's not, you can force it, right? You can force yourself, but I feel like that's just, that shifts a divine, your divine companion, your twin flame, into being a karmic, right? If you rush it before divine timing. Divine timing happens when you balance your masculine and feminine, when you find the recipe that works for you. Okay, let's get back to this. That was a lot of information. Okay, so we have the 9 of Swords. There's, again, anxiety, sleepless nights, little demon on your shoulder, that Schrodinger's cat. I always get that poor Schrodinger's cat. So maybe something with like animal testing. You could have lost an animal companion recently. Also with the cat and the moon there, that's that water energy. I get the, you could have a cat, but a Scorpio, that feels like Scorpionic. It also feels like the Queen of Wands usually has a black cat, even though this cat is not black. But with the moon, if you saw that cat in like a crescent moon, it might appear to be dark gray or black, which reminds me of Church from Pet Cemetery. Eight of Pentacles. So yeah, I mean, you could be like a, you know, 80s, 90s kid where those movies, where you watch those movies a lot. Halloween, you know, all the throwbacks. It is also, 'tis the season, so yeah, you could be tapping into those, but that makes me think of nostalgia. You're getting into maybe a nostalgic place. And this, I was thinking with this, you may have lost a pet. I was thinking this kind of looks like a scared child at night. So maybe you had trouble sleeping as a child. Maybe you lost a childhood pet. And maybe the way that, this is very specific, but maybe the way that your parents dealt with that was very cold. Or something about the loss of that was very confusing to you. Maybe that was like the first loss that you experienced. And so the idea of Scorpionic death energy, right? Because we need to bring death to certain situations. When we make decisions, we're always choosing between a past and a new, right? An old and a new. So to make this choice with the star being the feminine aspect of the sun, the heart chakra, right? When we're making heart-based decisions, it doesn't matter how much work we've done on ourselves. It doesn't matter how old we are, how far away we are, but something in your childhood that caused you to have sleepless nights, feel unsafe, I heard something outside. It sounded kind of like it's an electronic thing. I thought it was in airplane mode. I just got a message and I thought it was in airplane mode. Anyway, excuse me, I'm distracted here, and you could be avoiding accessing this. You could be avoiding looking into whatever this childhood trauma was, but Jesus. That could also be anytime that we are, it sounds like a tractor. I think they're out clearing the woods behind me, but it sounds like a cat. Literally, it sounds like a cat, like in the Nightmare Before Christmas. I was gonna say Nightmare on Elm Street again with the nostalgic throwback Halloween themed horror movies. So maybe, yeah, horror films. But I think it's a cat tractor maybe, but it sounds like the kind of whining of a cat. So yeah, anyway, very specific, but something with a cat. Cats are also guardians, right? So superstitions, you could be seeing a cat, you could be visited by a cat, that could be a sign for you. Maybe your person has a cat, maybe they're a Leo, because that's a big cat. So yeah, something with cats, let me know if any of that resonates, or don't, free will. But with the 8 here and the cat and the 9 of Swords, something about going back to the 8 to do this self-work. 8 is August, that's Leo time, so maybe something just happened in Leo season also that triggered you. But whenever we are, no matter how old we are, no matter how much work we've done on ourselves, no matter how many experiences we've got, we can know it in our mind. But when we deal with something that triggers a childhood memory or an experience, a feeling, it brings all of that back up still. We're still that little scared child, that little hurt child, that little afraid, insecure, feeling unsafe. I was also thinking about hugs. Like, when was your last good hug, right? Maybe when was your first hug? Maybe you didn't grow up in a very physically affectionate family. Maybe your love language is physical touch. Jesus Christ. Maybe you grew up in a really religious house that was like very, black and white, very box-like thinking with that Schrodinger's cat. Maybe you're put into a box. So yeah, box breathing will be helpful to help you break out of anxiety, to help regulate. And what I personally do is I use my heartbeats instead of counting or using like a metronome, which, not to negate those, I think that counting or using a metronome is really useful. It gets you into a nice rhythm. You can sync up with that vibration. However, when I'm doing it, I kind of get distracted by my heartbeat, because your heart will speed up when it's anxious, and it will, like, when you're holding your breath, it will feel very slow in that waiting period. It'll be like, oh my gosh, how many heartbeats am I waiting for before I breathe in? So I find that it helps to use my heart and observe my heartbeats to gauge like the separation between my head and heart, because that's the discernment comes from balancing the head and the heart, the swords and the water, which I feel like water is where you are having the most trouble with, right? Your heart. The heart is also the moon and the sun, Leo and Cancer. You could have those signs in my right eye is twitching. So yeah, you could have those signs in your chart. You could be dealing with those signs, but it's also about balancing the masculine and feminine aspects of the heart chakra. What is that? Something on my clothes. I am not a white clothing or linens person. because it's going to end up with paint or garden dirt or something on it. And I was just outside planting. Maybe that's something you are thinking about. Damn, my throat chakra. And yeah, maybe you couldn't see how they're kind of like biting their finger. They're not kind of biting it, they're really biting their finger. Yeah, you could have just been terrified to express your emotions. Maybe you weren't hugged enough, maybe you weren't nurtured enough, maybe you had very masculine sign parents, right? And so, or just out of balance parents, very conditional parents, and they didn't make you feel safe to be yourself, to speak your truth. And so maybe you were just recently in an experience where you spoke your truth and you're like, I'm doing the work, I've been tapping into that, I spoke my truth, but maybe the way that this person reacted, or maybe they took a step back, or they withdrew, or maybe they said something that just looped you right back into being a child. It completely like infantilized you. It made you feel like a little scared child again, because you were like, oh, I'm not in a safe place. I'm not in a place where I'm going to be loved unconditionally. I'm not in a place where I can be myself, where I can speak my truth. And anytime you're in those places, that's the decision right there. Get out. Get out of there. Follow your heart. Tap back into your inner child, that Aquarian energy, that star energy. Maybe your wishes, like what you dreamed of being. So December 8th came from, because I looked up 3 or 4 different actors within a short period of time, and they all are December 8th. And I'm like, which Sagittarius is, there are a lot of Sagittarian actors, right? They're just kind of everywhere. And I think that comes from their natural curiosity and their mutable modality of wanting to inhabit and learn about different things. And, you know, you guys really love to learn about different people and experience different things. And it's like, and if you can get paid to do that, then why not? And if you can express yourself under the guise of someone else as well, right? Because you may be in that swords and fire energy, that masculine energy. So maybe expressing your water is difficult. You guys are always on the go. And so that can make it difficult to tap into your feminine energy, to tap into the nurturing water and earth aspects, right? And you have fire, swords, and water, but you don't have any earth in that triangle. So yeah, getting into an earth place, being in fixed energy, being in that decisive energy, being in that can feel, even though it's stability and you may long for stability, it can be very triggering because it almost feels like a threat to who you are. It's like, it feels like a trap. It feels like a box. So yeah, maybe you told your parents, you know, I want to be an actor or something, you know, maybe your dream when you wish upon a star, maybe you wanted to be a singer, maybe you wanted to be an actor, a performance artist, something in the arts, and that was kind of negated by your parents or the society, or because you were in a fear-based place. Maybe you never spoke about that. Maybe you never spoke that truth because you just knew intuitively in the space that you were in. You could feel, I'm not welcome here. I'm not unconditionally loved here. If I express my truth, I'm going to be even less loved, right? And so what do children do? They do anything for attention of their parents. So you could have become, you know, they'll either become destructive, they'll act out. So maybe you went from acting to acting out. Maybe you were just kind of like, you got in trouble a lot, you were disciplined a lot in school. Maybe you got into drugs, alcohol, substance, whatever. Just behaviors like that were contradictory to who you actually are, but you just needed attention and that was the only way that you could get it. Or maybe you went the opposite way and you became like a conformist and you just did what your parents wanted you to do and you did great in school and you did the right thing and you became like a workaholic and in the very conventional way. And that could feel like that just took all of your life force, right? So this is really tapping into that little kid who looked out their window and wished upon a star. Makes no difference who you are. Something, something, Jiminy Cricket. It's not a cat. It's the beagle next door. And he's making this very pitiful whining sound. Oh, that's funny. I just realized that. So, cat dog. Remember that cartoon growing up? I don't know how old you are if you watch cartoons, but yeah, something with cartoons, something with childhood. There's a lot of childhood tapping into your inner child here. Maybe you had a family beagle or something. And yeah, if you had like doctor parents or very analytical parents, you know, maybe dealing with the loss of that person, dealing with which dogs are associated with Cancer. So we've got a cat and a dog, sun, moon, Leo, Cancer, like maybe something with those signs. Maybe you lost a grandparent or something, and maybe the family was more worried about the will or like how to divide that up, and it was very competitive, and you were just like, I just lost my best friend, I just lost my grandma, my grandpa, right? Makes me think of the movie Eulogy, where, I don't know why I said it like that, Eulogy, with Zooey Deschanel, who is a Capricorn. She is the birthday twin of Jim Carrey and Andy Kaufman, January 17th. Maybe that resonates, but yeah, I feel like you guys work with puzzles, numerology, numbers. You do something with numbers, crunching numbers. And so if you did that, you can always tap into the esoteric and the ethereal, the 5D, by looking at number patterns, right? Those can be signs for you. And then when you start looking, you might be like, oh, they're everywhere. They've always been everywhere, right? Because the divine is always everywhere. But yeah, the movie Eulogy, it's a dark comedy. But this family dealing with the death of their father Zooey Deschanel's character is, and there is an actor dad who did like a commercial. I don't know, if you haven't seen it, there's a lot in there. Maybe there's something in there that will resonate with you, or maybe it will just be a funny movie for you to watch and maybe take your mind off of all this bullshit that's going on, and just tap back into maybe laughing a little bit. With the sympathetic nervous system, we need to consider with the hugs, right? If you weren't hugged a lot, if you weren't like an emotional family, which makes me think of Love and Other Drugs, which is a great movie, which is a Scorpio and a Sagittarius, right? Which also I referenced in the Scorpio reading. There might be something in there, because the character, who I was gonna look up his name, and I looked up his name, looked up his birthday, I forget him all the time, but he plays Olaf, the voice of Olaf in Frozen. He plays in Thank You for Sharing, which is a movie about addiction recovery and sobriety, sexual addiction, alcoholism, and relationships, and how triggering those can be because they start bringing up all your shadows. So it's got Gwyneth Paltrow and Mark Ruffalo. I kind of said Mike in there. Maybe your name is Mike. Maybe you know a Mike. Maybe Mike is a name. Mike is a name, but maybe it's a name that means something to you. But that character is also in Love and Other Drugs, which is also about relationships triggering, but the brothers in there, that character who plays Olaf, the voice of Olaf, and he plays in both of these films, Thanks for Sharing and Love and Other Drugs. And Jake Gyllenhaal is, who Maggie Gyllenhaal is a Scorpio. So there's a lot of association with Scorpio and cuspers and all of that. And going from, and that's another way you can loophole, is loopholing into, if you're a cusper, you really are like, you have a lot of different tools at your disposal, right? Versus if you are more in the center of that season of a sign. So you can draw on that, or maybe you have a sibling or you know someone who's a Scorpio, right? You can always draw from their energy, draw from their behaviors, and if they're doing something that seems to work for them and you respect them, you love them, they're a sibling, a friend, whatever, then, or like a late family member, grandparent, pet even, right? You can tap into animals, being a fauna empath, right? You can tap into all of the energies around you, right? That's going a whole different direction, not a whole different direction, but if that's something that interests you, maybe you want to look into that. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. Maybe it was a rabbit. I used to have rabbits. One committed suicide. But anyway, the brothers in the film Love and Other Drugs, the one's very distraught and they go to hug each other and he's like, dude, we're not huggers. And they come from a very, like doctor, family. And so there's, even though they are doctors, which should be healing, which should be, it's more, if you come from that, if you've been around the medical community, then most people, especially nurses, they get into it to be caregivers, caretakers, and then there's caregivers fatigue, and all of that comes from it, because it's like, you could have that wounded bird syndrome where you're trying to fix people, trying to heal people, but this is about healing yourself, because you may have and may be consistently, the cycle you're in could be dealing with people who are emotionally detached. So I feel like you guys need a hug. I want to give you a hug. I could always use a hug. But calming the central nervous system, calming your sympathetic nervous system, and just, it's a passive way of calming yourself down, of maybe listening to like some vagus nerve frequencies, or looking at some techniques of resetting the vagus nerve, because that's connected to everything, right? So you will be, if that's aggravated because of your physical behaviors, things that you're consuming, external antagonists, this is all about doing the internal work, right? Your internal environment, not your external environment, right? You can't control anything outside of yourself, because if you do that, you're a dark magician and you won't be a divine magician. Therefore, you're going to be worshiping false idols, and you're going to be in a demonic place, susceptible and wielding black magic, and you won't be aligned with your divine counterpart. You're going to continue to attract demonic counterparts, right? Wow, this is a very heavy reading. So I feel like it's very specific, and so if you're still here and this does resonate with you, then yeah, I'm sending you an energetic hug. And you may need to hug yourself, right? That's a good reset as well, is hugging yourself. If you have any pets, hug them. They will love it. Unless they're a cat, they might not. They might be like, meh. But the Ace of Pentacles, to clarify, the Three of Cups, yeah, that's tapping into your Holy Trinity, filling yourself up, me, myself, and I, body, mind, and spirit. Like starting with the body, starting with the physical, the five senses, tapping into what's aggravating all of your five senses so that you can tap into the sixth sense, right? I see dead people. Yeah, maybe you were a medium I mean, you are a medium, but maybe it's something that it's a practice that you've got out of. Maybe you astrally projected, maybe you had prophetic dreams, and when you tried to tell people about them, they were like, get out of here, that's fucking weird, you're not a medium, you're crazy. Maybe you were medicated for it, or in therapy or something, because I was getting that with the Schrodinger's cat, like you were studied, you were like a little, like a rabbit, right, like a lab rat, and that you were like tested on. So maybe you underwent tests or something, or maybe you were just judged, with this justice kind of being something that could be a shadow aspect of your star. It's like the judgments of very, yeah, so the spiritual or the healing, I wanted to say industries. I don't want to say industries, but I was about to, because they are industrialized, unfortunately. But when you tap into the truth, right, when you're talking about religion, or when you're talking about the medical industry, everything is tapped into those. It's all political, it's all money mongering, fear mongering. It needs you to be sick and in this diseased, fear-based state. It needs you to have problems sleeping so that you can have sleep studies done, and you can pay for sleep medication and all of that. When we have the power, we've got the power to tap into our circadian rhythm by tapping out of, see, I thought I was in airplane mode, but I'm still receiving messages. So I'm gonna double check that, because I usually do that. It saves my battery and then I don't receive, interference. So yeah, you could need to do maybe like a tech fast or something, and come out of, and a vocal fast, right? Come out of that, go into airplane mode, something where you need to like retract from engaging with the external, because I feel like the external is very confusing to you right now. It's confusing your energy, and it's interfering with this connection that you two are working on, you and your divine counterpart, right? So that's what we do. We feel our twin flame, we feel our divine counterpart in the 5D, and so we are, we're receiving their energy. So even if you're not directly going through this, because you're so connected with this person, because you're so woven with them spiritually, like you are from the same star. And so it's like this karmic justice is coming in to balance the scales for you guys. But again, if you don't do the work, then you're going to keep getting karmic cycles. So that's what we're doing here, is we're cycle breakers. We're breaking the cycle. And sometimes you have to help your person along, right? It's not a competition. If it is, then it's not divine, right? So this is like, you may be picking up the burden like you would if you were together in the 3D. You're still in that relationship with them, and it's going on within you. So if you're struggling with your feminine, maybe the feminine is struggling. Maybe your masculine is struggling with giving himself some grace, or giving their self some grace, whoever the masculine is, right? And nurturing themselves. And so it's like, maybe they need a hug. So hug yourself for them. If you have people in your space that maybe are very loving and maybe very supportive, right? Really nurture those relationships, and tap into those energies and draw from those energies. Don't take from them, draw from them in a reciprocal way. Exchange with them, confide in them, right? Strengthen those connections and work on those connections. Continue to tap into that frequency, tap into that vibration, because your person could not have that, and they could really be needing that support. So it's like you are offering them the support of these loved ones you have in the 5D, so that they feel loved, so that they feel like they have ancestors and protectors and people around them to love and hug them, and they'll feel that hug when you hug yourself or when you hug your loved ones. Not to mention, when you come together in the 3D, your family is going to be their family, right? So if you tap into those frequencies, then they're going to start seeing those people, those energies in their world, and that is only going to keep you guys align your frequencies even more. Hopefully that makes sense. Ace of Pentacles and the 3. You guys are associated with the crown chakra, so you guys are very much like, you know, very close to connected. You know, with Temperance. Temperance is the, oh man, it is like the way to the divine. It's how we really strengthen and challenge our egos in a way that keeps us spiritually aligned, so that we're not relying on that, the ego. We're not relying on the tangible indulgences, right? We need them. We don't want to kill the ego completely. That's how we navigate this terrestrial world. We need to listen to the 5 senses so that we can open up to the 6th sense, right? We need to wield the 4 elements that we can see, that are tangible, so that we are able to tap into the 5th element, right? Another great nostalgic film. All right, so yeah, that's that 3 of Cups. That's doing that work, nurturing the Holy Trinity, nurturing the body, mind, the spirit. But yeah, if you grew up in a religious or a very analytical healing, or like maybe referencing any type of healing, maybe even there are trigger words like therapy or God or demonic, right? Maybe some of these spiritual connotations are triggering because that you associate them with this very conformist, conditional upbringing. So know that you can call source whatever the fuck you want, and nobody can take that away from you. You can call it God, and Christians can call it God, and you know, Allah, Buddha, it doesn't matter, right? And people can just rely on, you know, science. Maybe you lean more towards like atheism because all of that just bothers you, but you are actually a very spiritual, crown chakra connected individual, and actors are empathic, right? They have to be. So it's like you are a very empathic person who was once very tapped into all of that, and you just negated it. And I believe that atheism is it's more of a adverse reaction to religion versus a renouncing of spirituality, right? So it's more like, I think that there's really no such thing as atheism because we are all spiritual beings. So it's more like agnostic, but really needing some proof. You're not like looking for, it's not that you don't believe, it's just that you don't believe in what you've seen. Okay. But yeah, Ace of Pentacles, that's, you fill your own cups. Like, if you've been getting these shitty cups, right, throw it out the window. What's that from? Out the window. And this one has a key on their little rat tail. I don't know if you can see it. There's a little key on their rat tail. That makes me think of, like, I don't know, maybe you grew up in, maybe you were poor. Maybe you or your person were poor, or yeah, because that's kind of a very common hairstyle when you grow up like in poorer communities. And so yeah, like sometimes spirituality isn't really an option in those communities because everyone's struggling so hard to just like go through the daily grind and put food on the table, and so it almost feels like spirituality or anything outside of that feels like There's also a lot of mental disorders that happen when people, when generations are in an impoverished community, because there's so much mental stress, and there's so like their access to medical assistance, their access to healthy foods, clean water, things like that. I mean, they're being polluted constantly because like shit runs downhill. So it's like all of the higher ups are sending it there, and so it kind of keeps people in a cycle. And so that could just be like a very spiritually bereft, very spiritually inept. That's not the word I'm looking for. It's like devoid of spirituality. It's like that's the word I'm looking for. If you if you get what I'm saying, I'm looking for this word. But it is very like powers at play, and with that maybe you weren't poor, maybe you grew up wealthy, but with the cups here, it feels like that same kind of thing. Like you felt very poor, very in that 5 of cups, right? Very impoverished in your feelings and your feminine, nurturing cups, love, energy. My ears just popped. So yeah, something with planes as well. Maybe you want to fly, maybe you, whatever. Tom Cruise is a Cancer, and John Travolta is an Aquarius. I always think he's a Pisces, and then I look and I'm like, oh yeah, he's an Aquarius. So yeah, with the Aquarius energy there, and I am getting a lot of Cancerian energy, even though there isn't Cancer anywhere here. But the Ace of Pentacles is finding that worth, finding that value of self, and guarding it like a dragon would, right? Like desolation of Smaug, right? Guarding it with your life, but not for the ego, not for just guarding it. You'll share it with somebody, but you have to make sure that what you're sharing is truthful and balanced and full, that you're sharing from an empty cup. Because if you pour into somebody's cup and you don't have an empty, and you have an empty cup or a nearly empty cup, if your glass is half full, maybe you're in a very pessimistic or cynical energy. If you're in that place and you try to manifest from a place of fear, or you come into a connection from a place of fear or lack, in that 5 of Cups type energy. I know that's the 4 of Cups, but I am getting 5 of Cups from that. But see, they have 3 full cups here. So it's like, stop looking at this cup that spilled, stop looking at the past, what didn't work, stop looking at what doesn't work, what is half full, stop looking at that. Or keep looking at it, free will. But I feel like you want to look at these cups that are right there, they're right there. So instead of having this demon on your shoulder, biting your shoulder, telling you to bite your finger, bite your tongue, cat got your tongue, telling you to stay quiet, keeping you in a fear-based place, remember, you always have the angel and the devil. It's like this person's not seeing the angel, and this person's not seeing their 3 of Cups. They're not seeing their Holy Trinity. They're not seeing the divine has their back, has their shoulder. So yeah, you could be feeling impoverished. You could be feeling, maybe you went through a relationship, a divorce, something where it actually hit your bank account. And so yeah, you could be struggling with that. And you may feel like your worth, Pentacles are your worth and your value internally, and it's money and stability outside of you. So if you don't feel stable, that could have put you back into that fear-based place, right? So wherever you're feeling this lack, maybe you're seeing 5s a lot, but just like we did in math, very basic math, 5s round up to 10. So 10 is bringing that to an ending, bringing this to an ending, right? Use the sword, make the decision to add this, carry the 1, carry the 1, and bring this 9 to a 10, right? Which is an ending. It's an ending of a cycle. And then what comes after the 10? What is a 10? When you combine it in numeral, it's a 1. It's an ace. It's a new beginning. Bring yourself into a place. And with this clarifying the 8 of Pentacles, the 9 of Swords clarifying the 8 of Pentacles, yeah, I feel like, yeah, you had to kind of like go back within, keep working on something. Maybe you invested in something. Could be work, could be love. With the Cups, I feel like it's love. But that all kind of mirrors each other, right? It happens in threes. Like you lose somebody, you lose a job, you lose a relationship. Like it always seems to like come in threes, tragedy. So yeah, you could have just got hit by a triple tragedy, which is maybe why you're not seeing. And the way out of that is gratitude, right? So you're grateful for the 5s, you're grateful for the lack, because it's like, oh, that wasn't serving me. So it's having a faith in the divine, that the divine is looking out for you, that the divine is actually clearing the path for you. It's clearing the clutter for you, which is that Tower energy. It's Plutonian. Well, it's Tower is Mars, it's Aries, and Scorpio, which is again that Plutonian energy. So it's all linked, it's all connected. So yeah. Maybe these signs mean something. King of Wands and the Hierophant. Could be dealing with the Taurus, but again, loopholing through that Libra to the Hierophant. Hierophant is marriage. It's traditions. It's also the spiritual leader, the teacher, and they're always the student of Source, right? So they tap through the crown. They utilize the third eye because they're the masculine aspect of the High Priestess. Like we talked about with Pisces, the High Priestess is the third eye, it's the dreams, it's the 5D, right? So this individual taps to Source through their third eye, through their crown, through their higher chakras, using the throat to be the medium, to be the teacher, to be the translator of the 5D to the 3D around them, right? So again, this could be, maybe you want to speak about something. Maybe you want to write something. Maybe you want to do theatrical performances. Maybe you want to speak your truth, be a teacher. You know, maybe you're wanting to get into tarot, right? Maybe you're wanting to start a channel. Maybe you're wanting to get back into divination. Like tapping back into your divine purpose in whatever way. Like we're all divine beings, so we're all divining in our own way. Most of us are just not tapped into that, but come on, collective, we can do it. And they translate everything from the 5D to the 3D, which means that they have to observe the 3D. They have to be in that mutable energy of observation and analysis. So, because that's what breath is. We take in information through our inhale from the outside, and then we do something with it. All right. Some of us don't. Some of us are shallow breathers. Some of us, you know, we just kind of like don't think about our breath. But with doing breath work, you inhale information and then you exhale it out. Right. Everything that you put out comes back to you. If you're in that cynical, ungrateful 5 energy, you're going to keep getting confirmations of it. You're going to keep getting that information, and it's going to block you from the higher chakras because you're too focused on the lower chakras. And that's all centered around the heart chakra, which is the center of the 7, 7, 7. So maybe listening to 777 frequency, maybe 7 is important. That's also July, Cancerian energy. So yeah, if you don't have any signs in mind for like these new, this person makes traditions. This is also marriage, it's tradition. So yeah, you could be coming together with, in the Hierophant energy, you could be coming together with a Taurus. Let's see, Page of Swords. Somebody's watching. And the 7 of Wands. So somebody is lost. And that's what happens. The 5D, the feminine, sees through the third eye, they see their counterpart they attract them, and then the masculine sees them in the 3D. So yeah, you could be the feminine and you could be really struggling because you're like, I don't see my person. So maybe you are dealing with a Cancer, maybe you're dealing with somebody, one of the many signs that, but somebody in that Cancerian energy, they could be watching you. And they have that, see, they have that one sword. So if you want to attract somebody, an Ace of Swords, communication from somebody else, then you need to let go of the past communication and come into that Ace with yourself. 7 of Wands. 7 of Wands. Maybe you're December 7th, right? That's my grandfather's birthday. 2 of Pentacles. That's balancing, that's that seesaw. You're balancing you come into this place of the Ace of Pentacles, of knowing your worth, and you're able to it's like once you know your worth, then you attract someone else who knows their worth, right? So this is like the 2 of you coming together, that seesaw. It's gonna be very childlike, very soulmate-y, past life. You're gonna feel like children together. Yeah, 8 of Swords and the King of Wands. Somebody is lost. Somebody is in their head. They are not tapped in to their feelings. They're avoiding their feelings. And I feel like if you are the masculine with the double King of Wands here, the King of Wands could be watching their counterpart struggle. So again, that goes back to, if you see a person is struggling, then you may have to help them. You may have to help them by doing more of the work, just like you would in a relationship, in sickness and in health. You guys are already married in the 5D, right? So you may have to be the leader, be the teacher. And then there are times where you're going to be the student, right? There are times where you're going to have to be the parent, and times where you're going to have to be the child, right? Because that's the Holy Trinity. The Father, the Mother, and the child. The Divine Masculine, the Divine Feminine, and the creation, all right? Whatever they create together. Biologically, it's a child. Spiritually, it's a space. Energetically, it's a healing space. And could be a passion project, a healing hub, right? You guys are going to be leading the way and nurturing a space for other people to help heal their inner child. There's that Page of Cups. See how they're playing with the fish here? So we have these dead fish here. This one is nurturing it. This one's like, coochie coochie coo. They're playing with that. Maybe you had a fish that passed away, and maybe your parents were like, it's just a fish, but you're like, but it was my best friend. So yeah, I'm getting that pretty heavily with the loss of a pet. And yeah, the birthday of mine, August 23rd. I lost one in April, so Andy was my best friend. So it was re-triggering for that to come, for his birthday to just pass, because it was like, it just brought up all the loss again. So yeah, maybe one of the dates that was mentioned here, something with 7, maybe that's something recent has re-triggered that, and it put you in a place where you're like, I feel like a little fucking kid again. Like maybe I'm not ready to be in a relationship. Maybe I'm not ready to be, maybe I don't have anything to offer anybody else. And because you're in this fear-based place, you're in this place. But we have the 4 of Wands. You guys are coming together. I mean, it's inevitable if you continue this work. If you continue to give yourself grace, and that's not just working, Sag. I know you guys like to do that. You could be a Capricorn cusper, but that's like, I know you guys love to just work and go, but you're gonna have to stay as well, and work on the self, right? And with that 777, that's like the chakras, going through the chakras and like figuring out by sitting with each one of them, breathing into each one of them. When you're doing that breath work, you can imagine each one as a colored balloon, and you inflate it with the inhale and deflate it with the exhale. And just notice, aligning with your breath, where is there a struggle? Which balloons are harder to inflate? Which ones do you feel you're not deflating completely? Maybe you're not exhaling completely in certain areas. There's something you maybe need to let go of in that chakra, right? Really tap into yourself. That's it. That's it. That's as easy as it is. It's super easy, right? Shadow work is totally easy. Oh shit. And then we have both King of Pentacles. So yeah. Again, you get your pentacle, you get your self-worth, you're going to attract somebody else who's in their self-worth as well. Could be same sex, but again, both of you could be in that masculine energy. So if your person's in that, the feminine could be in their masculine energy because they are in like survival mode, and they're all alone, so they have to like do everything for themselves. Maybe they, you know, whatever. I'm not going to go too far into that because we're at 1:11 on the clock there. But you may have to pick up the slack, right? You may have to pick it up and go into that feminine energy. Now, pentacles are grounding, it's earth energy, but it's also, like all things, has that duality of being the 3D, right? Pentacles are 3D, it's the tangible, but it's earth energy. It's also nurturing and creative, right? It's also like the womb, right? Going into the womb, doing some child's pose, really nurturing yourself, hugging yourself, and comforting your nervous system. Because you might be like, I don't know why I feel this way. Everything in my life is great, la la la. Well, if that's the case, you may have to give a little. You may have to give a little to your person. If you're giving to people that put you in a 5 of Pentacles, that's not reciprocal. But because it's never 50-50 in a relationship, right? Or in life, it's never 50-50. Sometimes you may have to give them the 2 of Pentacles. Maybe you have to lend your person 2 of Pentacles. A little bit of balance, a little bit of playfulness, because, you know, they could be in the 5 of Pentacles. So that would put them into the 7 of Pentacles, right? It's all a play of energy, and you're gonna know your specific situation and what you're feeling and what you're thinking and what you're blocked from and what you're over exerting yourself in, and you have what you're not letting go of. The only way you're gonna know that is by doing the work. So yeah, I feel like you guys are close. We've got all these synchronicities and the 4s, the 4 of Wands. We have 3 kings, 4 kings actually. 2 Kings of Pentacles and 2 Kings of Wands. So again, yeah, you could be dealing with an earth sign. All right. Virgo, Capricorn, Taurus. Or you could be cross-watching, and maybe that's why I'm getting so much of that mirroring. But if you feel like letting me know, let me know. If you want to follow me over on Instagram, same name. I do little practical reels of like how you can do some spiritual work, and there's also a lot of like memes and movie clips and stuff. So if you just want to go over there for a laugh, come on over. If not, free will. I will see you next time, and I wish you well.